Welcome to this week's edition of the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. Now, we saw the stat tweeted out yesterday from PA Prep. Your defense has just been dominating this year. Third straight shutout for this team. And we talked about, I think, in the preseason, you knew the strength of this team going this season was going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And they're really kind of pushing you guys along as the season goes.
Yeah, we've had in the past two games, we haven't had very good first halves on the other side of the ball. So our defense has really held it together for us, and we've tried to stress that cannot continue. You try to pinpoint that, and I have made some comments and have some theories about that with players. But, our defense has played really well, and it's a combination. They're not the biggest kids in the world, but on the other side, we can run a little bit, and our secondary has put a lot of pressure on teams to, throw the ball. It's got to be on the money, or it's going to be knocked away, or it's going to be incomplete,
Defended, yep.
It's even going to be intercepted. So we've gotten to the quarterback. We're not big, but we're fast, quick off the ball, and they've just done a great job of keeping anxiety on offenses, keeping them in second and long, third and long situations. So
yeah, and you talked about, obviously the defense is feeling good about itself, and you got a tough opponent coming in this week from District 3, Cumberland Valley. And you got to think a little bit here. At some point, how does the defense deal with having a team score against? I know they had some big, goal line stances the past couple, but they have to be prepared at some point here. Hey, some team's going to run some good stuff. They're going to score touchdowns against us at some point here.
Well, they're pretty stubborn. Last week in our OJ game in the first half, there was a sequence that really did not go our way in terms of calls.
Penalties yet?
We had a ghost pass interference call. The second one was, honestly, really questionable as well. And then we had an inadvertent whistle prior to that, where we picked up the ball on a fumble and we're headed the other direction, and there was an inadvertent whistle. So there was a whole sequence of things, and they're just pretty stubborn. The one thing about our secondary, especially, and not all of them, but our secondary, those guys are really stubborn. They're really competitive, and they got a couple calls against them, didn't take it personally, didn't like it, and just we're like, no, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to succumb to this. We're going to overcome this, and they did.
It's funny how you say that. I had Nate Capers in class, and on Friday before the game, we were talking. I'm like, hey, you ready to go? He's like, yes, sir. No passes. Nobody's going to catch it. He's got that attitude of this is my job. I'm going to shut down the guy across from me. He's not going to catch the ball. And it's my job for the night.
He's probably he's one of the least stubborn of the four. He's stubborn, but Nick Teets and Naftali Stein are really stubborn. And Cole Turner's the junior back there. Cole is, and he's learning on the fly from those guys.
And he's getting great leadership job from those guys, too, as it goes along, too, right?
Yeah, those guys are all very, very
all stubborn team.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
All right, so let's get back. Let's talk a little bit offense here. And you've talked about on this show before, the idea of going back and looking at what you're doing, stuff that you're doing. So you've had some struggles in the first half the past couple games. Now, without giving out too much, you're saying, okay, we're trying to do too much at this point. What's your kind of going into week, 6 here, whatever we're saying here?
Say what happened. We've talked on the program before about communication on the offensive line, and to give OJ a little credit, O&J a little credit, they have shown a few different defenses on film, but they came out, and after a series or so, if I recall correctly, they just kind of went into a 3-3 defense, which we haven't seen since the first week.
PV.
Now, as coaches, we were going against that defense since July 1st because of our opening game. But kids struggle to turn it on and off in terms of, recognizing and understanding that, if we're seeing one defense, I got to do this, and if I see this other defense, all of a sudden, like we identify who we're reading. Like, so if we're running zone read, for instance, we're identifying the defensive end because that's who we're reading. Well, it can change if an outside linebacker walks up and that kid kicks down, and we got to recognize some of that stuff, and we got to recognize it on the fly. So there was a mixture a little bit of, our offensive line kind of being a little unsure of themselves. And then also there was a little stress because of that. That kind of goes through to everybody. Ryan was struggling a little bit with, even though his second throw was on the money and we scored from there, there were some things that he was missing. And I think there was some miscommunication between him. Well, there was some miscommunication between him, the receivers, and the offensive line at certain points in that first half. And then he compounded one of the mistakes by throwing an interception after it was a catchable snap, but it came back a little hot. Mm-hmm. And he ran back to get it and picked it up and compounded the mistake and threw an interception. So, all things being equal, Ryan has played very, very well. He's completing 65% of his passes. He has 8 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. We need him to be the guy that makes the final decision and says it with force and conviction so that everybody else kind of drops in line with that. And he's willing to do that and has done that. But in the first half, for whatever reason, it kind of snowballed a little bit, mm-hmm. and then we pulled back a little bit, and we were good from there.
It sounds like, once again, outside guy, I'm not there. It sounds like there's a little bit of a struggle. I'm sure you coaches have to see kids that, besides of just go play, just go make plays, versus I'm thinking too much, and it's compounding, right? And you're losing that idea of just go play,
Well, yes and no. I mean, you can't just go play in the sense that that's not how it is. That's not how it works. But if you make, I'll agree with you on this level. If you make a call or you make a decision, go with it and do it to, don't hesitate in the middle of it because you're not sure.
Yeah.
And I actually had that conversation yesterday with a player. But if you make a call, go with it and do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you got to communicate that with me, and I got to hear it, and then I got to play off that. So if you're blocking that camera, then I can't also block that camera. I got to block that camera.
Got to go somewhere else, yeah.
And we have many cameras here.
Yeah.
And in a game, the cameras are moving.
Yes.
And jumping around.
Right.
So it's not that easy, but it's something like if you make that call and I make that call, let's just go do it. And because our backs are pretty good.
Yeah.
And they'll make adjustments.
All right. Want to get your hot take on this one last year before we do highlights here. So you saw it a couple times in college and pro football this week where in Penn State, they score that touchdown. Everybody says, we told the running back don't score. The Atlanta Falcons do it. We told you don't score. Is that something we talk about? Is that something that's in the back of your mind? But not. We haven't really experienced that. We've talked about that in games. Mm-hmm. It never really came to fruition. More so, I remember last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, we had to tell in a lopsided game. We had to tell our one running back, who was a senior backup running back, hey, run out of bounds. And he broke one for 70 yards. Never scored a touchdown in his entire career and ran out of bounds. Okay.
Now, it was called back for a penalty, but, that type of thing, that's a whole different scenario. I'm getting out of the scenario, but that type of thing, there's two sides to everything, and as we're learning in our society, there's two sides to everything. And
I guess my idea is you can talk about it, you can practice it, you can say it, whatever, but they still got to go do it. Franklin and the guy at Atlanta, I saw a clip last time where Matt Ryan goes to girl. He's like, go down, don't score. Everything says score, go do it, but at some point, like you can convey messages all you want. They still got to
Right.
go do the right thing when it comes to game time situations still.
Yeah, and if you have a timeout in that situation,
You
you let
reiterate.
the clock down, go down, the play clock go down, call timeout, and try to get that communicated. Or, we practiced different situations. We practiced 2-minute situation we did yesterday, and we practiced different situations. So
All right. Well, I always love coaches talk here.
Yeah.
Like get your take on the situation.
it's a little different in high school most times than what you saw on Saturday and Sunday. It can come up, but if you score, so you score. It's a tie game. You score.
I was more Penn State should have went for 2 to make it 9. That way, even if they score, they kick the field goal, go to overtime. I would have liked to see Penn State do that. But that's just my take. Don't worry, all the Penn State people are going to get mad at me there too.
Listen,
that's
the
a
other
numbers thing too.
And you can go back. Here's the other part. You can go back and you can look at it, and a couple breaks went against Penn State, even when Indiana scored. When Indiana scored, was it a score? Like, my opinion, it wasn't, but whatever. If it was called, I truly
if they called it short, they would have stuck with
on
short.
replay, they
Yes,
would have
I
stuck
agree
with short.
that too.
And you see a couple angles where, like, there's no way he's in the end zone. So that went against them. Now, the 2-point play, Penn State guessed right. They kept 6 in the box. There was an unblocked kid, and the quarterback just made a great play.
Yeah.
Kind of hesitated for a second or got blocked from where he was trying to go and bounced it. Like, Penn State made the right call there defensively as well, which everybody,
Listen, you get high school football, get a little.
That's why football's great, though. Football is different in that way because there's a clock.
Yeah.
In basketball, some of that comes into play, but it's by 2s and 3s. It's not by – there's no way to score a 5-point play or
Yes,
whatever.
Right, yeah.
So
mathematically, you become
mathematically, it's a little different. But, yeah, listen, those things –
because I remember you were saying you used to be like a guy that looked at the analytics, the numbers, and,
absolutely.
and the player, right? So.
And we would do that. We talked about it. There was a game, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a game where Coach Mick and I were having a serious conversation about should we just let them score right now.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was, but.
All right, Coach. Well, good stuff right there. How about offensive highlights? Do you want to do that?
Sure.
All right, offensive highlights from Spring Forward, Owen J. Roberts.
Gridiron highlights are sponsored by Heaps Landscaping.
So this is the last touchdown of the game. As usual, have them out of order, but you see there, Ryan does a great job of recognizing what Nick is intending to do and gets into the end zone because there's no free safety. So you see here, watch Ryan kind of hitch a little bit, thinking one thing there, and then sees what, Teets is going to do, and they get on the same page. So that's really, really good to see at this point in the season. All right, we had some confusion here a little bit as far as how to line up, but got it figured out. Didn't exactly run the play like we would have wanted. There were some people on the wrong page, but we did end up getting the ball to Josh Hellauer, and Josh breaks that tackle to get into the end zone. You're a little quiet, John. Any reason? All me, this one. All right, so ultimately, here is another touchdown. Again, we miss a block here, but Teets does everything himself and gets into the end zone. You see here from the end zone copy, we do fake the other way, or fake that way, fake the other way, and then get the ball to Nick, who does the rest. And this is the beginning of the game. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the beginning of the game. We run a little RPO there to Nick again. Nick's gotten tackled like 5 times or 6 times inside the 1, or inside the 5, I should say. And we give him a hard time about that. But it just goes to show you what his stats would be if that has not happened. So I see Ryan do a good job of reading the outside linebacker who comes up, and Nick gets down inside the 5-yard line. Just a little run by Andrew Yoon. You know, Andrew missed the game early and has been getting better and better and better. We've started using him at wide receiver in addition to running back. He's a kid that we need to have on the field. We get a good kick-out block there from Ryan Beppel, and we're up in the gap. So there you go.
So obviously we were watching those highlights there. You're trying to find ways to get Nick Tietz the ball out there, whether it's the running game, whether it's the passing game, screen game. It's a guy, obviously teams at this stage realize when he's on the field, you're looking to get him the ball.
Yeah, and he doesn't come off. And Andrew Yoon's another one that we're trying to get the ball in different ways. Andrew ran some Wildcat stuff, and Nick will do some of that stuff. And we try to utilize our guys. And Nick had 10 catches on Friday, 150 yards. And he was, like I said, he's stubborn. He was very determined to, get some touches and also limit touches of
on the
opponent
other side, yeah.
because he, has personal goals as well. So, he just did a great job.
All right, Coach. Well, there we go. Offense in the books. We're going to take a short break here, all right?
You bet.
I will take a short break right here, and we'll be back with the defensive highlights from Springford, Owen J. Roberts. Welcome back to the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with head coach Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, before we do defense, we usually do announcements, and I'm repping my tennis gear here. We're talking about things that are going on. I'm sure you saw our girls' tennis team won the District 1 title. I mean,
Crazy.
That's a
awesome.
huge deal out here. We're not, the main line, the Radners and the Stogas and Unionvilles have had some really good teams. That's a huge accomplishment for those girls.
Congratulations to Coach Reagan on that.
Coach Reagan on that one.
Excellent job. Our girls' soccer team was the co-champions in the pack. Does it bother you when people say Pac-10?
Yes.
It bothers me a
pack.
lot.
It's the pack.
The Pac-10 hasn't existed for about, 3-4 years now?
You know what really grinds my gears too when things is when people don't put the hyphen in Springford.
Oh, that too. Or say Springford.
Yeah, Springford. But it's
let's grind our gears.
The lowercase f, that grinds my, every time I go to a boys tennis stadium, I'm like Spring-Ford,
I tell you what, when our own do it,
yeah,
it really bothers me.
Grinds my gears.
It grinds my gears. But yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome to see other teams. We root for all the teams here, and they just do a great job. Our band does a tremendous job. Our cheerleaders do a tremendous job. Everybody, it's great to see people and other programs having success.
Yeah, I think the girls start their first round of states today. If they win today against Cardinal O'Hara, they're in the state semis, which is crazy.
Awesome.
Girls tennis, good luck to you girls out there in state playoffs here. So back to your game with Owen J. Roberts, and we talked to defense. We've talked to 3 straight shutouts for you guys right here. I alluded to in the first segment, it just has to be, I don't know, what the feeling is you're like, okay, defense can bail us out. We have a couple bad series. We do something wrong. I think our defense can keep us in the game. They're obviously going to be able to keep you in the game.
Yeah. Well, and, they have – Coach Mick's annoyed that, they don't have 5 straight shutouts, because actually no one scored on us in the first half in all the games.
And in the games, yeah.
But and some of those scores were kind of, late in the game in the fourth quarter. So I think our players learned from that too, by the way. I think our players learned hey, we're going to play 4 quarters. We're not going to let them score or have a letdown. So they've just been playing really well. The thing that we're starting to see is more film study, like independent film study. We're seeing, and that's something that we, push. And it's sometimes difficult with high school kids to get across some of that. But, basically they have assignments in addition to their schoolwork. And, they are responsible to, on the offensive side, Coach Strickler makes the offensive linemen write up a report on their guys across from them.
What are they doing? Yeah.
And what's their best or favorite move or whatever. Defensively, our coaches do such a great job of, by formation, knowing what might come.
Don't steal my next question. But
go ahead. Ask your question.
So I feel the defensive staff is they're doing a great job preparing. Here's what the other team does, and then I feel they're putting our kids, all right, here's what they're going to do, here's how we're going to practice, and this is what you're going to see from them. And they just kind of, I feel like it's an idea like once they're in the game, they're like, oh, here's this formation. Here's probably what's coming. Let's defend it. That's
Well, I'll give you a for instance,
Okay.
and I'm not throwing anybody else under the bus.
Am I kind of right there in what I'm thinking about?
Yeah, I'm not throwing anybody else that has played them under the bus.
Okay.
But our kids knew what Upper Perk was going to do formationally. They had a pretty good idea, and they have code words that they call out, knowing whether it's run pass or if they're going to do, some teams have tendencies by formation. Some teams have tendencies by if they're on the left hash, if they're on the right hash, if they're in the middle. Some teams have tendencies based on the backfield. So in the Upper Perk game, you saw how that game and the final score, and our defense didn't allow very many yards, and you've seen what they've done since.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in large part our defensive staff putting them and picking up on things, putting them in the right situations, and playing off of that. And I'm sure other people do it, but we have Coach Nestle, we have Coach Mick, we have Coach Shine, we have Coach Entenmann. Those guys are prepping our kids very, very well for what they're about to see.
Yeah, all right, Coach, great stuff right there. Let's take a look at the defensive highlights from Springford, O&J.
Gridiron highlights are sponsored by Heaps Landscape. Gridiron highlights are sponsored by Heaps Landscaping.
Again, you see, so right there, I tell you what, he has played lights out. Watch 22 here, Ryan Horvath.
Right through the gap.
He's a kid that really recognizes things up front. Now, you can say, well, he didn't get blocked, but he knew that if he took that path, he could get there. And here's a fumble recovery. I think Gavin Schaefer fell on this one. Right there, maybe could have picked it up, but did the safe thing and dove on it, and we got the turnover. Here we are in some mixed coverage. Naphtali Stein, I'm not sure where. I think there was a mix-up there between the receiver and the quarterback. Thought he was running a comeback right at the sticks, and Naphtali was on top of it, and we had coverage over the top there too. So Naphtali could take a gamble because he knew Nick Tietz was behind him. And here we are just getting downhill. That's Josh Hellauer at the left defensive end spot right there, a big hit. The O&J running back was the leading
guy in
rusher in the league, and we held him to -4 yards, I believe. And
here's another play by your linebacker. Look at him.
Yep, Ryan Horvath. And you don't recognize it, but right there, DJ Francis,
Lateral.
Yeah, lateral. DJ Francis, played off his block so that Ryan could make that play. Ran a little stunt inside. Missed it on the end zone camera, but made a play in the backfield.
Screen coming. Sifts it out.
I tell you what, Zach Marinello, and this time it was Josh Pergine. Those guys have done a great job on other teams' screen games. In the past, I think we've had some issues with that. Those guys have done a great job.
Because that's the work when the offensive lineman on the screen, they're looking back like, oh, I should have blocked that. Like, 'cause that's what those guys look like. They're like, where's the guy?
Well, he's already gone.
Right.
He already flashed and he was already there. So, defensively, we're doing really well right now. We'll get into Cumberland Valley. One of the things that Cumberland Valley does that is, not our strength is they run right downhill right at you. So it's going to be a big challenge this week for us.
Yeah, speaking of big challenge, we got District 3 opponent. All right, we'll talk about them after the break.
Yep.
All right, make sure you stay tuned to the commercial break, and we'll preview the game with Cumberland Valley. Welcome back to the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, as we move in here we're talking about extra week. We're still at the top of the District 1 playoff rankings. If it starts today, we'd be the 1 seed. You got to be in the top 4 to make districts. But we're adding an opponent. We're playing Cumberland Valley from western side of Harrisburg. They were supposed to be one of our original non-league games. Is that correct there too?
Right. They were original non-league. They were our week 3-game, I believe.
And because they don't make the District 3 playoffs, which are starting this weekend for them, it's an available date for them. So you said, good, let's make the trip across the turnpike down here for the game.
Well, we waited for a long time. Like a lot of teams, even in our own league, tried to fill dates right away. And our, I guess, approach to it was a little different. Like we didn't want to play the Sisters of the Poor just because they were available. We wanted to play a good opponent. And here we are, we're sitting. We've got to win to get into the playoffs. And this is a team that has a state championship under its belt, a proud program, 13 District 3 championships.
Yeah.
This is not a 1-4 team. This team has played, I mean, they are a 1-4 team, but this team has played State College. This team has played Altoona. This team has played Bishop McDevitt. This team has played Chambersburg. So this is a team that has played a really tough schedule.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, you know, we scheduled them because we know if we're successful and make the playoffs, it's going to help us.
And I think a big thing people say that watch, it's a 6A school. You're playing the biggest size school out there because PV is five in the rankings. Am I looking at, if I looked at it right? Five or
somewhere around there.
4 or 5. They're right, but they're playing PJP this weekend, smaller level schools. So even with the win, they're not going to. The ability for those bonus points is just it's tougher for them to get, right?
Yeah, but essentially they can't get enough now. So you know, we're going to try to fill our schedule. Like you saw our non-league schedule.
You want to play 6A
got,
schools, right?
And we had Unionville on the schedule too, but a quality 5A opponent. Because at the end of the day, you know, we want to see a bunch of different things so we're ready for playoffs. We want a team that our kids have to step up and stop because that's the issue. So in the past, you know, when we've gone to playoffs, we've had the worst draws for our program as it was, as our team was constructed that year with the kids that we had. Not our team, we know, you know.
I got what you're saying, yeah.
The Chamonix downhill, Downingtown East downhill, and Big. These are the teams, and we did okay. Like the Downingtown East score a couple years ago was 38-19 or something like that. They didn't have a run over 8 yards that entire game. It's just, so we didn't break.
Constant. It's just,
we didn't break.
Yeah, it was just constant.
But we made some turnovers and didn't help ourselves. And, you know, last year, we ran into Haverford, who was way underrated by everybody. Went and beat Downingtown East.
Made it to the district final.
Made it to the district final. And so we've had poor draws. Like, if you look back, like over 50% or around 50% of the teams that we played in the first round became district champions.
Yeah.
We haven't had any, like, cupcakes. Nor should we.
It's tough to find a cupcake. It's tough to find that, too.
It is tougher to find, but it's sometimes nice
the
when you're
matchup you like. Yeah.
The matchup is right. The matchup is the issue, and we just have not had, big kids. We just have not. Now they've worked really hard, and they've gotten their bodies to a point where we can compete, but we are missing some of those kids. So parents who are the dad's 6'4" and the mom's 6'1", have kids.
Get into the district.
Get into the district, buy homes, and feed them well.
All right, okay.
High protein diets.
All right. Let's take a look at Cumberland Valley on offense. All right, Cumberland Valley on offense. Here we go. They're in the red here? Yep.
They are in the red. This is against Chambersburg. Again, downhill, tough runner, boom. You see at the
falling forward too.
Always falling forward, and the offensive line comes up. They're going to run ISO here. They're coming off the ball, and all of a sudden the back is out of the backfield into the secondary. Again, big kid, lead blocker, boom, and there he goes, and he keeps running, and they keep blocking. They have a sophomore quarterback. He's a lefty. You'll see him right here, and then
they can throw it.
And you kind of get caught looking in the backfield, and they sneak the guy out into the flat. All right. throwing right here, and making the corner takes a bad angle, but still they get out there for the first down. And
when it could have been stopped like for nothing or essentially lost in that play right there.
Cumberland Valley has a new head coach, Coach Oswald, who came from Central York. He's a Cumberland Valley grad, very good guy. Cumberland Valley for the last 40 plus years has been a wing T team until this year. And so Coach Oswald is bringing more of a spread offense in and trying to find the right pieces in his school district, and a fellow PSFCA director, and he and I know each other pretty well, so it's going to be a good matchup.
All right, what are you going to see from defensively?
So they're an even front team 90% of the time. They play a lot of different coverages. Like, we haven't seen teams that play a bunch of different coverages, so that's going to be a challenge. They have, again, they're bigger up front than teams that we've faced this year, so it's going to be a challenge all around.
All right, let's take a look at Cumberland Valley on defense. Right up the field right there.
Yeah, 55 is a player. You'll see him all over the field. He is a player. Chambersburg spread them out a little bit. Like right here, you see they're not afraid to play cover 3.
Coverage sack right there.
Yep. They're playing man here at the bottom. They're playing zone to the field.
Nothing.
And that allows that kid. Number 4 is a good player, man. He's lines up at safety, but you'll see him sneaking up into the box like right here. Now, he didn't make the play because he was on the back side of it, but they got a fumble and they tackle well. So it's a big challenge for us. Again, we have to really watch against our kids, looking at records, and we've talked about it. We keep, there's a balance there between saying these guys are the greatest players in the history of the world versus a 1-4 team. Like, there's a balance there that we've got to find. And the kids have to recognize that no matter what, they have to respect all of their opponents and be ready to play right from the jump.
Have you looked at the weather for Friday night?
Yeah, it's a little colder.
It's going to be cold.
It's going to be
your
cold.
first little kind of like cold weather.
I got to get
your gear ready to go.
I got to get my gloves ready.
Okay.
I got to get my hat ready.
I'm just making sure the staff has looked at the weather for Friday night. No shorts Friday night?
I never wear shorts.
Some of those yahoos wear shorts.
Yeah, some of the yahoos.
Pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gloves.
This is hat. This is gear up.
You would never know. I might even be wearing like long underwear. You don't know. Like, you're never going to know that.
Nor do I want to know.
Right. But I'm just saying that's how I roll.
All right, Coach. Well, make sure everybody's fully aware of the weather for Friday night. All right.
Will do.
All right. Make sure you tune in next week as we recap the game with Cumberland Valley and preview the District 1 playoffs. For the head coach Chad Brubaker, I'm John Brennan. See you next time on the Gridiron.